Holocaust, a time where nothing was safe, where millions of Jews couldn't turn a corner without fear. To me, the Holocaust is more than just history. To me, it's a time we need to remember. For if we forget all that those of that time went through, their death and degradation will have been in vain. In this first piece, one man waits until the end to be taken. The poem First They Came by Martin Niemöller. First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I wasn't a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the Catholics, and I did not speak out because I wasn't a Catholic. And then they came for the Jews, and, well, I did not speak out because I wasn't a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. The camps were one of the most terrifying parts of the Holocaust. In this next piece, one girl realizes the true terror behind it all. An excerpt from the story, I Have Lived 1,000 Years by Livia Bitten Jackson. Whom do you expect to find? Why, everybody. I see infinite pain in his blue eyes. Look at me, Ellie. You will find no one. No one survived the death camps. His soft, tired voice drops to a whispering as he continues. We survived. We are the only ones. We are the survivors. But there are many other camps. Maybe they are there. Daddy and Aunt Serena and the others. Daddy is different. He's a young man. He may still be alive. But the others? Don't expect to find any of the others. You mean Aunt Serena? But she was taken to a camp for older people. Ellie, there is no such camp. Aunt Serena went to the gas. It's a lie! A lie they were telling us in Plastow. You know it's a lie! Ellie, you know it's not a lie. I had friends who worked in the Soldier Commando. I know all the details. What details? The Soldier Commando was a special unit. It was they who removed the bodies of all valuables before putting them to the gas. It was their job to remove gold teeth, even teeth with gold fillings, before they went to the chambers. And sometimes they recognized the people. Parents, younger siblings, close relatives. Ellie, all children and adults older than 45 went to the gas. My God, it can't be true. Aunt Celia. We met Aunt Celia in Auschwitz, Aunt Suri, and Hindi. If you met them, they made the first selection. They may be alive, but since then so many have died. Do you know how many died here? How many are dying daily? Every morning at Zalapel, the Blockel sends 2 men into the bunkers to carry out those who died during the night. The bodies are counted on Zalapel until officially being reported dead to the authorities. I sit stunned, shattered. We are the survivors. Perhaps there is no one else. Only the 3 of us. We sit silently for a long time on the green slope that forms the roof of the bunker. The tall grass continues to sway and shudder in the cool April wind. Freedom! The Americans will be here soon and we will be liberated. We will be freed. To do what? To face a world in which little children were gassed along with their mothers? To face a world in which this was possible? My God, I have just been robbed of my freedom. After the camps, many survivors suppress their memories, but this survivor decides he wants to share his story. An excerpt from the memoir Light One Candle by Solly Gaynor. I'd been restless the whole day. During the war, I developed a sort of sixth sense warning me of things to come. An instinct for survival that served me well in the death camps, and then again during Israel's War of Independence. It was an uneasy sort of feeling that something was about to happen. So when the phone rang, I didn't want to answer it. I let the receiver ring several more times before I finally picked up. "May I speak to Sally Gaynor?" It was a pleasant American voice. I hesitated before identifying myself. "I am here with a group of Japanese-American veterans who were among the liberators of Dachau in 1945, the man said. "I was told that you were among the survivors of the death march from Dachau." My instincts had been right. This man with the pleasant voice was going to stir up memories I'd kept carefully boxed off from the rest of my life for nearly 50 years. "Do you recall the name of the place where you were liberated?" he asked. I was silent for a long time, but my heart was thudding in my chest. He waited. "I was liberated in a small village in Bavaria called Waunakee," I finally said. "Do you remember seeing any Japanese-American veterans when you were liberated?" Did I remember? Did I remember? How could I forget that very first face I saw at that very moment I emerged from hell? Yet something within me kept rebelling against this intrusion from the past. No one who wasn't there, no matter how sensitive or imaginative, could have any inkling of what we went through. Those who were killed in the very beginning, they were the lucky ones. Those who survived year after year in the death camps were ground down to less than nothing. And then in the end, with Hitler's Reich crashing down around the Nazis' ears, it was that final, grotesque, meaningless, inhuman cruelty. Something inside of me died. Though my body survived intact, my spirit was crippled. I became a different, somehow, sort of lesser being. "Yes, I remember the Japanese Americans," I finally said to Mr. Saul. "I remember them well. As a matter of fact, they were my liberators." Eric couldn't keep the excitement out of his voice. "It's a miracle to find you here after all these years. It's a miracle." Yes, it is a miracle, I thought, still wary. I was groping for denials, excuses not to enter into this dialogue. I didn't believe those wounds would ever heal. Even if we lived for 1,000 years, what I wrote down then, what I wrote down later, were private nightmares I shared with no one but the 1 or 2 friends who survived those days along with me. In the ordinary world, in the daylight hours, I was not a survivor. I was somebody else. Now, all we can do is remember. For if those of that time had to die, let them be dead with dignity and honor, rather than pain and suffering. The poem I Am Remembrance by Eric Sander Kingston. I am blue and white striped, with a yellow star and a tattoo of death. I shower in fire with my brother's hand in mine. He knows of no Jew or Catholic, no Muslim or Christian. He knows only that he wants to survive. And I cannot comprehend. I cannot understand. I cannot forget what I have never known. I shovel the ashes of the death with the why tearing at me, with the why burning me, with the why tattooed in the fire of my mind. And what have they known but pain and suffering? What have they become but hunted and afraid if they forget? I wore the blue and white stripe of persecution. I shovel the ashes of the dead, carry the tomorrows that were burned, the hopes that were shot, the dreams that will never be. And I am a prisoner to what I have never known, to the gate of that eternal night. Born to chains, born to suffer, born to thousands of years of containment, exclusion, restriction, haunted by the agony of the dead and the guilt of the living. I am remembrance, forsake me not, for it is the doom of man that he forgets.